Welcome to Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. My guest today started a clothing brand that encourages us to appreciate the simple joys in life, share it with others, and every purchase gives back to an organization making life better for the type 1 diabetes community. Please welcome the founders and co-owners of Palmr, Rebecca and Nick Roccanti. What's going on, guys?
Biggie, good to see you, man.
Hi.
Good to see you guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. I always like to ask the question, of course, what's your go-to lunch or sandwich?
So this is a big one because I'm like really into sandwiches lately. But I'm Cuban, so I really like the medianoche from Black Bean Deli. It's one of my faves.
A good one. What about you, Nick?
So the real answer is that I'm usually in trouble during lunchtime because I forget to eat lunch because I'm so busy. And so when I do grab lunch, I only have a few options that are very close. And so I do a lot of Chipotle. I know it's not a sandwich, but
that works.
A lot of Chipotle in my future. So
And Chick-fil-A sandwiches.
And Chick-fil-A. So yeah, a lot of chicken sandwiches.
Those are both very good of the fast casual world. I'm all about
yes.
that. So I totally understand that. All right, so let's talk Palmr. In your own words, what would you say, like if someone say, hey, what's Palmr?
We are a Florida lifestyle brand with a very coastal kind of tropical vibes. Both of us are born Floridians. We love our state. We've been in Rebecca was born in Orlando, grew up here, never left, even went to UCF.
Yes.
I moved down here over 20 years ago. So like right out of high school, I grew up in North Florida, moved to Orlando, been here basically since. Orlando is our home. We love Florida. We don't see a time where we ever want to leave the state of Florida, like living. It's just who we are. And so the best way to say it is we are a Florida lifestyle brand who loves our state, loves our city that we live in. And we just make clothes that are fun, that represents the Florida lifestyle.
How did you guys come up with the brand? Like, who was it? Was it, and obviously we'll dissect you, Nick, in a few minutes about all this, but Rebecca, like what's the origin? Like who came up with like, hey, we should come up with a brand and actually do clothing?
Yeah. So it's kind of a funny story. On our first date we were talking about, because, and we can get into this later on, but Nick has been in this industry for the past 18 years plus. So he's very immersed in it. And I always have loved fashion and even wanted to go to fashion school for college, but then decided to save money and stay local and go to UCF. So did something completely different. I was in commercial real estate ever since I graduated college. Most of my family's in commercial real estate. So that's kind of what I always did. Then fast forward, I meet Nick. He's like this cool merch guy with like all these cool t-shirts and everything. And I was like, I would love to start a clothing brand. And he's like, me too. We should do it. Mind you, we're on our first date. So not creepy at all. So it kind of started from there, and then we got married, and both of Nick's kids have type 1 diabetes. So that's a big part of our story as well, that we can get into more detail about it. But I knew nothing about the type 1 diabetes world before that. Like most people, I knew a lot about type 2 diabetes, but nothing about type 1. And as we would go on dates, like Nick would explain things and I would see like his phone light up a lot, like, you know, not being a creeper, but I'm like, who's texting him so much? But it was really, but it was really just the notifications for the diabetes. So with that, and being immersed in this world so quickly, because when we got married, it was basically I got 2 diagnoses at once. And it was super hard for me. I did not handle it well, to say the least. 3 months of us living together, I got the shingles because I was not sleeping, and I was so stressed out with the fact that even though Nick had been dealing with it for 7 years at the time, that I was certain he was going to sleep through a low at night, and that was just going to be the end of everything. So instead, I took it on of just not sleeping, which I don't recommend to anyone. So with our love of fashion, with Nick being in the industry, combined with type 1 diabetes, me being new as a stepmom to this world, we really wanted to create a brand where we brought the conversation, or opened up the conversation of type 1 diabetes outside of just our walls and our family, and also bringing something to our kids that everyone can wear. They don't stand out with wearing it. I'm really close with my nephews and they're all around the same ages as Parker and Evie. So it's like really finding something that we can create that everyone looks the same. Parker and Evie don't stand out because they're type 1 diabetes. So that is really what we launched Palmr with as a clothing brand. And kind of to give a little bit more detail, we do in some of the garments that make sense, we have hidden pockets for the type 1 diabetics to be able to put their equipment in and just kind of have a hands-free kind of more way of living. But then also with every purchase, we give back to Touched by Type 1 here in Orlando. And the reason behind why we picked Touched by Type 1 personally is because when I was in the very beginning stages of being a stepmom, I needed to find a group. Like I told Nick, I was like, do you know anybody else? Do you know any other families here locally that, you know, have kids with type 1? And he knew of one other family that had a girl with type 1 diabetes. But besides that, we were not immersed in any sort of community base. And we were fortunate enough to meet Elizabeth Forrest, who is the founder of Touched by Type 1. And the first time we met her, it was a dinner with her and her husband. And I was literally in amazement by Elizabeth because she never gave herself insulin the entire dinner, because she's just grown up with having type 1 diabetes for so many years and she knows how to fuel her body properly. And pretty much all she ate at the dinner was protein based. And she was pregnant on top of it at the time. So I was just in amazement by it. And it was like, wow, like type 1 diabetes doesn't have to like rule your whole life and it could be not as stressful. So meeting Elizabeth kind of introduced us to this whole community of amazing families and kids. And we just love being a part of that community. And I feel like in a way, like it saved me and it saved our relationship because it was able to bring us an avenue to really like express what we're going through and feeling less alone. But yeah, so then that's basically how we started Palmr. We were in the Bahamas, just Nick and I.
For your birthday.
For my birthday, because we like any trip we take, we love it to be tropical, even though we live in Florida. So we'll go to islands, like we just love it. So we were sitting in the pool under a palm tree, and I looked up and I was like, what about the name Palmr? And then at the time, we wanted it to be kind of like more unique to us and didn't want to feel like it was playing too much on the whole Arnold Palmer world. So we decided to drop the E in Palmr and just go with the Palm and then R. And at the time, the R represented our last name.
That makes sense. No, that's good.
Yeah, so it was cool. Like it was in our first year of marriage. It was actually only a few months after we were married because we went down to the Bahamas because we needed to get away, have a little us time, especially trying to escape the diabetes. And we literally were joking. We're like, all right, we talked about this on our first date. Let's actually do this finally. We're not leaving the Bahamas without a name and a concept. And we literally started out like like I said, we're in the pool, hanging out under a palm tree, talking, having some drinks. And, you know, we were like, okay, first off, what makes us happy? This makes us happy. Literally like being in the pool, palm trees, all of that. And it says, all right, well, let's build a brand around this feeling. All right. Like, what is it about makes us happy? Mm-hmm. And so that's really kind of how everything launched. And then afterwards, we were like, and this was like, I don't know, like a week later, we're like, all right, we got the name, we have the concept, we want to be tropical kind of, right? We're going on a walk around our neighborhood. And I go, well, I feel very strongly that you should always try to give back and do more. Like have a kind of a mission behind the brand. And I was like, what's your thoughts on that? And like, what should we try to do? Like, what should be our behind the scenes mission, right? And she's like, she kind of looks at me like I'm an idiot. Like maybe I'm just like throwing something out, like, I don't know, try to be funny. She's like, we're doing it around type 1 diabetes, right? Like, of course. Like, why are you even asking this? I'm like, well, yeah, duh. Like, why?
Like, it made so much sense to me because we love being everything tropical and being Florida and all that. But our kids love being in the water and swimming, which they have told us individually, both of them, that they feel free of their diabetes when they're in the water, which is funny and ironic because they love it, but it's more work for us when they're swimming because they're not connected to their devices. So Nick is like putting a timer on for every like 25 minutes to get them to get out of the pool so that he could check the numbers. But it's just that like feeling of them feeling free that just made it all worthwhile for us. Because if we can bottle up like 25 minutes of freedom that they get, we want to bring it to the close. And that's why we were like, I thought we were on the same page. This one over here was like, what should it be about? I'm like, what?
Yeah. And so we've, over the years, and we've really tried to figure out what type of brand should we be. We're about 2 years in. Like we did a soft launch almost 2 years ago.
Hold on. Let's go on the journey here. Let's recap on a few things. So I always sometimes will tell my guests how I know people. I've known Nick for numerous years. And one of the big reasons, just like Rebecca mentioned, he owns Threadbird. They do everything from custom merchandise agency. They do everything from screen printing, embroidery, cut, sew, fulfillment. They do it all. So if you have ideas, you can definitely reach out to them. And I'm kind of curious, during all the years of you doing this, because obviously you kind of also become like a consultant in the sense of like being able to tell people like, hey, this is what my brand is, and you be able to help them. With everything when printing everyone's needs and everything like that. I'm kind of curious on what you've learned. What's been the reverse now of what you've learned from being on the other side of this? Because now you're no longer, oh, I'm printing for you. Now you're actually the customer of your own thing. And I'm just kind of curious, like now that you've learned that, what have you learned?
Man, I will be honest. The best thing I ever did was start Palmr for Threadbird, because like you said, I've been in this industry for over 20 years. We've known each other for over 10. I don't know how long it's been, but maybe closer to 15, honestly. Yeah. Very long time. And I've literally have worked with tens of thousands of clothing brands over the years, but always sitting on one side of the table. I know production. I know t-shirts. I know apparel. I know that like the back of my hand, right? And I was always great at giving people advice, helping them make amazing product. Starting Palmr and becoming my own client and have to sit on the other side of the table, I have a whole new perspective of what it actually takes to start a clothing brand and how hard it is, what actually goes into it, right? Like the grind, all the stuff that you don't think about every single day. Like it's not just we designed a cool shirt. People are surely going to find us and buy it, right? Like that's kind of the mindset. Like I'm just going to throw up and do a few ads or do a post on social media. Like, there is so much more that goes into it. And so I thought I knew that world. I thought I was like, oh, this is going to be a piece of cake, right? I got to making the apparel part down. I had to learn everything else. So now when I talk to people, I'm talking to people every single day, people calling me for advice. Like, again, it's that whole consulting. And it's one of my favorite things to do is talk to people. Well, now I get to actually tell them, by the way, I get to see both sides. And so when I'm guiding you, when I'm trying to give you advice, I'm now looking at it from both sides. And I've been able to help people in such a different way. And a big part of it, and literally an hour ago before we started recording this, I'm on a call with a possible new client. And I was just very honest with her. I was like, listen, like, this is how I work and this is what I know. I don't want you to make these mistakes because I see it all the time. Everybody has a dollar and a dream. They're going to start a clothing brand and do amazing, right? That's not the case. That's not the reality of it. And I've seen it over and over again. I was like, before you go in there and drop tens of thousands of dollars trying to launch a brand, I want you to do it the right way. I want you to spend as little as money as possible. I want you to test things. I want you to figure out what actually works. Then we'll have you spend money, right? Like you always got to put a little bit of money in, but I don't want you to wipe out your entire bank account to fail, because the chances there's a 99% chance you're going to fail, because the first year of a business is about learning everything about it, and you're going to lose money. It's what you do with what you learn during that first year is what makes you successful in year 2, 3, 4. So don't waste all your money on year 1. And I tell people, it's like, I don't make money off of you ordering 100 t-shirts. Like we don't. Like it pays the bills, but like nobody's making money off of it, right? I make money when the brands I work with become successful. Not when they order 1,000 shirts, or sorry, 100 shirts. It's when they're ordering 1,000 shirts every single month and 2,000, and it's that, right? Well, I want you help you get there so I can make money. But if you spend all your money on day one, that's the last time I'm ever going to see from you.
Yep.
And so, but I can guide people in a way that's different. because I'm now walking in their shoes.
And that's something that I was curious of, because of the fact that, like, I was like, oh, I wonder what his perspective, how his perspective has changed even more so now being as a brand owner, because obviously it's just it is a different, but it also is great insight for your business, for Threadbirds as a whole. So I think that's awesome. Speaking of, and I'm always intrigued by this, because I want to know a little bit about the inspiration of like the brand and the design side, because obviously Rebecca says that she likes fashion and everything. I'm just kind of curious because, like, especially, and you have a little bit of it, obviously you have a little bit of an advantage of the fact that you produce merchandise, because you kind of create, like, I looked at your, like, when you look at your catalog, you're like, I'm like, holy shit, like this is a lot of stuff. Like you guys stuff for men, you have women's, you have kids, you even have, like you mentioned, diabetic pump accommodation products. Tell me a little bit about some of that ideas of where you came, like where some of the design inspirations have come from, and where you've kind of led, because I knew like you have amazing women's clothes as well as men's clothes, swimwear. So I'm just kind of curious on like where that design inspiration has come from, and then how you kind of figured your, I guess, like the drop of it, because like there's, as you started dropping things, like what came first and you started building from it.
Yeah. So this is really interesting because, like we mentioned, Nick has all the experience. I come from no experience in this world. So I'm like, let's do all this stuff. And then it's like, hold up, like we cannot release a million products because it just doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. So when we first did our soft launch for Palmr, we actually launched the company for the women's side with, how would you call, like, what is that?
Like pre-made kind of garments that we then modified.
Yeah. So it wasn't us originally custom making it. And the reason behind that was, for the diabetes world, it's much, much harder to dress a female for diabetes. They just have a lot more things with them, and there's just a lot more that goes into it. And every female diabetic that we've like interviewed or like gotten feedback from, they all place their equipment in different places in their bodies. So that was something that we had to keep in mind. So when we first launched with those products, and we individually put in the pockets for the diabetics, and we put them in different locations of the item. So if it was a dress, we made sure that the dress already came with pockets, but we did them in different areas and in different height positioning and all of that to really test it out. And I by far think that was like one of the amazing things that we did, because if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have learned all that we did. And with that, we really learned how much everyone wears their equipment differently, how some people think pockets are genius in different areas of a garment, how some people don't even bother with pockets. They just wear like a fanny pack or a sling bag, something like that. So that was kind of what we did in the women's area. But then when we launched Palmr, we really went all out with the men's stuff on the custom side.
Yeah. And so kind of starting over, right? Like, it's funny, I give people advice, but I don't always follow my own advice for my own brand. But like, I knew that I wanted to like test in the first year. And so with what we were doing is we weren't necessarily making the stuff that we truly wanted to yet, but we're like, okay, we need to do testing. And so going that route was very beneficial during the first year, the first 6 months. And because we were also able to like do smaller quantities where, all right, when we're ready to go develop our own, we got to go overseas. We got to order a lot more bulk, right? And so when we do it, got to make sure we do it right. And so we were like kind of developing things overseas, but we wanted to launch. And so we were able to launch with a smaller collection that was really about kind of testing things, kind of getting name out, some early, things like that. But, kind of going back, I definitely think, though, we still launched with way too much product. Mm-hmm. And again, we talked about that first year being testing. I was kind of in the mindset of like, well, we're going to test a whole bunch of things and see what happens. And we tested too much stuff.
And it really didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, when we launched Palmr, we were in the mindset of like Florida vibes, all this stuff. So almost we were like at the edge of resort wear. And the more we got into it and the more we started doing it, like the more people started finding out about Palmr and us kind of figuring out what are their needs, what are their daily lives like. We learned so much, and it's like, are we trying to be resort wear, or are we actually trying to be the person for an Orlando family that lives in Orlando and likes to do outdoor things and live the Orlando life? And that's why we really landed on, okay, let's focus on who we are. We're a family brand. We want to do this. And let's kind of hone in on that versus trying to be a resort wear brand. Or even, for example, the whole diabetes world. That was a whole like thing we took on that, again, it'll always be a part of who we are. And we still offer the pockets and everything like that. But it's not at the forefront of it because, I mean, we really got advice from early on when we were starting Palmr from like different diabetic influencers and all that, being like, diabetics don't have extra money to spend on garments or anything that stands out or anything that's not budget friendly, which we love that feedback. He was honest, and it actually made a lot of sense because in our first year, who was buying from us? Orlando families. It wasn't necessarily just diabetics.
Yeah.
And so we did. We had to kind of like pivot of saying like, well, type 1's always going to be part of our story, but we cannot fulfill the needs of the diabetic community in the way that we thought we were going to. And it wasn't because we didn't want to try, but as we did try, we got feedback and it just wasn't working in the way that we thought it was going to, right? Like,
yeah.
There's people who love our diabetic pockets, but everybody has an opinion of how it should operate. And then, as Rebecca was saying earlier, you know, especially for, you know, my kids, like we talk about how we want them to look like everybody else. But then people started getting confused of like, wait, but you're type 1 diabetes fan. You have to be a type 1 diabetic to wear your clothes, right? And we're like, no, that wasn't the point of it. It's caused a lot of confusion.
Yeah. So moral of the story, year one, it was all like putting it out there and seeing what hit and what didn't. But the reality of the situation is I obviously went into this blindly because I've never done this in my life. But, you know, we got this expert here and we still had our trials. Like it was not perfect by any means. And we're still, you know, learning every single day. So it's a journey. And especially coming off of that COVID bubble that we lived in where like so much happened online and so many brands came out and about, like, you know, everything is like, we're just bombarded every day with like different ads and different clothing companies. And it's like, we really needed to learn like who we were attracting and what was true to our core.
No, that makes total sense. And I will say, like, you're wearing the 407 hat, like that is caught on like wildfire. Like it's awesome to see everyone in the city wearing your Palmr hats, the Orlando, the 407 ones. I think you guys do a great job with that. I've seen your ads. You are putting money into ads as well, but I'm kind of curious. So now let's talk. Now that you guys have figured kind of like, you know, and it's a great example of being open when you have a concept of starting a business and being able to pivot and being able to realize, hey, this doesn't work. And like you said, you didn't blow all your money in the first shot where you're like, oh my God, now I can't do anything. I'm stuck with everything, because you did things low and slow and smaller quantities, which I think are so important for a brand to realize and understand when they're trying to create something. Now that you've done that, tell me a little bit about how the two of you kind of go back and forth on the design aspect of like, what do I create? Because you do still have, you know, a pretty decent aperture of children, women's and men's. So like, how's that been for you guys? How do you guys handle that?
Yeah. So,
I mean, it's funny we did all this within our first few years of marriage.
Not recommended.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it's like we learned so much about each other like so quickly. And like I was used to such a different world, like, you know, so it was just, wow, I am working with my husband and then we go home together and then he still wants to talk to me on the phone on the ride home. And I'm like, we just saw each other. Like, so it was just like a lot of working together. But I will say that we work very well together. So I look at Nick as my advisor in this world, obviously, but I also have my own opinions on, you know, especially for the women things and even on the marketing side of what we need to be doing. So I think we very much align with what should we start, like, with our pivot, like what should we move into? But I think it's very much like we figured out that the family matching aspect, it's really big. And not in the way that you think about like the old school JCPenney, like family photos. Like, we're not trying to be that. Like, we're bringing a new like era and new vibes to this whole family matching.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been such a hit. And it's so fun to see in like family pictures. Like, if somebody buys like our polos for the dad and for the son, like they'll send us their Christmas photos because they're wearing the Palmr polos. And that's just so fun to see. And the feedback that we get is we love the matching stuff, but not only do we love it, our kids love it and actually ask to wear it. So that was what was really important to us, because if the kids are wanting to wear it, then everyone in the family is happy. So then from there, it's like, okay, creating these like garments that feel good on these kids, but then also like look cool that the dad and the son both want to wear.
Yeah. And so, when we're trying to come up with products, obviously Rebecca will lead stuff that has to do with like the women. I lead stuff that has to do with the men. But then we really do come together about like, okay, what is the goal? What are we trying to accomplish right now? And so we'll start mapping out. And again, we're always learning, we're shifting, pivoting the products that we're trying to offer. But we'll come down to say, all right, well, here's the direction that we think we should go. Are we all in alignment? All right, let's start getting inspiration. Let's start putting things together. And really kind of get the vibes all kind of going.
Yeah, and I think it's fun because in addition to Parker and Evie, I have 2 nephews. And I swear my oldest nephew is going to have like run a million different businesses when he gets older, because he has a million business ideas for Palmr as it already is. But we really like, as funny as it sounds, like we really get a lot of feedback from them of like what they like, what are they into. I mean, they're so immersed in all these different things that they're actually the cool ones. Like, they become our inspiration in a lot of things that we look towards too, and even like look at their lifestyles. Like, what do they do on a normal weekend? Like, for example, my sister, they do like travel baseball, and then one's in golf. So it's like, okay, what can she wear that can take her to like all these events, and then she could pop in and sit down for dinner and not feel like, oh, I'm so underdressed for this.
Yeah,
I think at the end of the day, when we started talking about the brand, we kind of said like, we want to make clothes that we love. Like, so let's start there. And hopefully people like what we come up with. But if we're happy wearing it, hopefully other people will. And so that honestly was our inspiration, right? Like, the design styles. We're designing for ourselves because, hey, we think this looks great. This will make us happy. This is really cool. Like, one of the first things we did for men, which is still my favorite thing we do, and I'm wearing them right now actually, is we made shorts. But they're not your normal shorts. We call them our hybrid swim shorts or hybrid shorts. They're swim shorts, or you can wear them as normal shorts. They have zipper, they have belt loops. Like, you can wear them out to dinner, take your belt off, and then jump in the pool. You're right? And they're swim shorts, right? To me, I thought I saw another brand do that one time. Like, I bought a pair of random shorts, and I was like, oh my God, these are like swim shorts, but I can wear them normal. I was like, this is amazing. I wish all shorts were like this. And I'm like, that's how we're going to make our shorts moving forward. And so that's how we have. And so we really just say, what makes us happy? What do we love? Because if we love it, we're going to wear it. And then hopefully other people will see it as well and like what we're doing.
Yeah. No, and I love the fact that I was going to ask how the kids play a factor, especially when it comes to the fact that everyone's wearing. So I love hearing that they're providing their input.
They definitely do.
What do you think has been your favorite part of the brand, aside from maybe matching?
So I think personally, my favorite part has been the connections it has brought us and the introductions to different families, even diabetic and non-diabetic families, and just hearing their stories. Like, that has been very special to me. And like, we're still very much a small brand. So like, I run the social media, so I'm in the DMs all day. And when people send us pictures of their kids or themselves wearing it, like, I get so touched by that. And it's just that human interaction of like, it just makes me happy just to see other people wearing, even like the 407 hats, like you were mentioning. Like, we got invited to go to the Orange County Commissioner meeting for
407 Day.
407 day. And, you know, it was just so amazing to be a part of it. And I'm very emotional these days, but I'm over there like crying. But it's just fun to see like, hey, like people are like gravitating to our designs. They like it. And then I would say one other thing that also is my favorite part is that pretty much in everything that we create, especially in our hats, there's a little like hidden touch to type 1 diabetes. So in our hats, for example, in the inside of it, it says supporting type 1 diabetes. On our shirts or things like that, on the tags, it says supporting type 1 diabetes. So it's a little subtle hint like, hey, you bought this cool piece of garment, but you're also supporting this world as well.
Going off what Rebecca said, it's like, it's just meeting people. Like, it's amazing of how many doors making this brand has opened up and just meeting incredible people, especially here in Orlando, other small businesses, and being able to help people out. And, you know, we have people coming to us now like, hey, I love your hats. I need hats for my brand. Can you help us? Right. And so we're now in talks with like multiple different like small businesses. And like, we just want to help everybody out. And then, you know, we've helped people like, you know, our local community with, you know, Soto District and Milk District. Just trying to support and be a part of the community at the end of the day and give back. I know that we did, Soda was trying to raise money for some new like artwork and all that type of stuff. And this is when all the Pulse sidewalk stuff was happening. And so they wanted to do a tote bag. So we designed a tote bag, donated all of our, you know, skills and everything, and was able to like raise a whole bunch of money for them on our behalf. And it was like, we're helping the local community that we love. And that just feels great at the end of the day.
No, I think I love the fact that you guys have kind of, and we can talk about like, you know, what's been the hardest part of this, but the mere fact of like hearing you just kind of talk about how you guys like owning the community, being part of the community. I think it's just so amazing. And I do agree, Rebecca, like there is something special, and obviously, yes, sales dictate to what makes you realize like, am I being successful or not being successful? Yes, like that obviously is part of the business part of it. But the DMs, the seeing people wear your stuff, the interactions with people, I think to me that's the part where I'm like, it gives me I don't know, it makes me feel like, wow, I'm like, what I'm doing is actually means something, or or I'm actually on the right direction. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you kind of need that North Star, or you kind of may have your doubt, like, what the hell are we doing? Should we really be doing this? Like, I'm like, are we just spinning our wheels?
Literally our conversation all day.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're going to have it, and I'm kind of curious, when that happens, does the universe respond back to you and give you some random DM of a person going, oh my God, I love your brand. Like, your brand is so freaking awesome. And you're like, okay.
I want to start this story. So yes, I'm so excited that you asked this question. So the other day, it was like 2 weeks ago.
It was on 407 day.
Oh yeah, it was on 407 day. We get first we get a follow, and the person had a little blue check mark, and I was like, oh, is it someone famous? You know, even though everyone can kind of have a blue check mark these days. So I click on the page, and the bio, it's a woman, and then the bio is like all this Star Wars stuff and like voice of this Star Wars. So I screenshot it to Nick, who I'm in our bedroom. Nick is in the kitchen working, so we're not in the same room. And I randomly screenshotted, texted to him and said, hey, do you know who this is? He literally, not even seconds later, comes busting through the door, like tears in his eyes. And he's like, do you know who this is? And I'm like, no, that's why I asked you, like, who is this? And then I'll let you take over.
So, yeah, it was Ashley Eckert. And to most people, they probably have no idea who she is. If you are a complete Star Wars nerd like I am, she is like Star Wars royalty. She is the voice of Ahsoka Tano, who Ahsoka is literally one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time. She's in the animated part, so Clone Wars, Rebels. She is the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker, of course, becomes Darth Vader. And like her story or everything about it is just incredible. And she's just an incredible, well-written character. And she is the voice and been the voice for a very long time. And all of a sudden she tags us and she's wearing one of our 407 hats.
And then I'm like, wait, how did she get this hat? So I DM her right after she tags us in the photo, and it was like, OMG, you just made my husband's world. And then Nick makes me send a picture. What were you holding?
I was holding her. I have her actual lightsabers. I'm like, send a picture of me holding her. I'm like totally having like embarrassing myself probably.
He's
right?
Fangirling to the max.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she writes right back, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And she's so kind, so nice. So she got the hat was a girl in our neighborhood actually saw our 407 hats of people wearing it at the Arnold Palmer golf tournament. She then was like, oh, I want to gift this to Ashley. So she bought one and gave it to her friend. And she was texting me like, oh, because about the different sizes or whatever. And she's like, oh, I have a friend. I can't wait to give this to her at dinner. She never told me who her friend was. So then when Ashley tagged us in that, I text her friend and was like, you did not tell me this was your friend. And she's like, I didn't want to get your guys' hopes up. Like, I didn't want to like pressure her into posting. So she's like, she posted that all on her own because she loves a hat. Mm-hmm. So it just like really, it was so special. Again, it made his life. But it's super fun.
Yeah. But like, that's an amazing story. And like, again, I got to have my nerd out moment because like, we basically have a celebrity wearing we do have a celebrity wearing our hats. Like, you know, it was a huge deal for any brand. But it's like, does the world give you a sign? Yeah, they do. Because I can't tell you how many times over the last 2 years where we're just going through like this funk. It's like, where did all the sales go? Like, are we wasting our time? Are we not, you know, making an impact? Is this even worth doing? Right. And then you get that DM, you get that random message, a comment from somebody who like, I don't know, bought something and didn't realize our connection to type 1 diabetes and then saw the message on the tag and was like, I'm literally in tears here that you're like, and we're like, oh, the world is telling us that we need to keep going. Like, that's amazing. And yeah, every single time I feel like we get discouraged because listen, when you own a business, it's going to have the up and down. You're going to get discouraged. The world says, no, keep going. Like, it's going to work out at the end. Like any business, it's not if you're going to be successful or not. It's, are you sticking around long enough to get there?
I like that. I don't want to dwell on the negative, but just give me what's at least one thing for each one of you. What's been the hardest part about running this business?
Yeah, I think the hardest part, we both have the same one, and it's really just the marketing side of the business. And like, again, back to that whole 2020 bubble that we lived in and coming off of that, it's really hard to like be found or seen on social media these days. And it's not so easy as just putting a post out there and it going viral and then you get all these sales from it. So it's really a different type of world that we're dealing with. And even with like ad spend, like, you know, like what type of ads work, what type of ads don't work, like where to put your money, like that's really been the hardest part for us. And even for myself, even with not knowing anything of this world, like I still feel like, you know, creating new products and stuff is easier for me because I have Nick, but this whole marketing side of it, like we never like expected it to be as hard as it is.
Like you live in a world with so much noise, and how do you make attention? And what we've just come to really realize, and we can go more detail if you want with this, but it's like, it's easier to make a noise if you go smaller. Don't try to be, a fish in a giant ocean, go hop in a little pond. Right. And so what we've really kind of realized, and more over the last 6 months, and if we're honest, like we're getting ready to do, like, we've been working on kind of a rebrand and a few things right now, but like a lot of our new messaging, who we are, is saying like, no, we are a Florida brand from Orlando with that. We love our city. Like that is who we are. And that's what we're going to focus on. Listen, if you're from some other state, great. We got people buying stuff all over the place. We just sold something in Finland the other day. Incredible. Blew our mind away. Or bought something like Finland. Whoa, great. They can wear our stuff.
They like flamingos apparently in Finland.
We are going to be a Florida brand. We're going to brand ourselves as a Florida brand. And the direction that we're going to go is even more Florida, because you can make more of an impact, right? And let's continue to pour into our local community, build relationships, connect with people, connect with the city, do what we can, and let's make an impact in our city first and in the state of Florida. And let's, if people find us from other states, great, but let's stop trying to please the whole world.
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's always a hard one, right? Because like, and I keep reminding myself, because even with like the merchandise part, you and obviously I'm surrounded by it, so I don't even know, like, you guys have like your own little space of where all your merchandise is. You get tired of looking at it, you come up with this idea, you do spend all this time creating it, it gets created, and now you're stuck with it. And then you post it, and then you're like, I'm like, yeah, but I already posted about it. And like, you forget, like, you don't realize, like, you got to post it like 12 times before someone actually sees something and be like, oh, I didn't even know you had that. And you're like, what the hell? Are you not seeing my feed? And it's like, no, I'm not seeing your feed. So like, that is always the hardest part, because like, you kind of have to remind yourself all the time, like, even though it may be somewhat old to you, it's new to someone else. And the aspect of being able to own that backyard and being able to do stuff locally, like starting to do events or local events, and being more involved in the forefront of your neighborhood. I mean, I sell all around the country, but Florida is where most of my people know me from, and it's because that's what I've done the last 12 years. I basically have like owned, I basically got it from John Rivers. He said, own your backyard. Then once you own that backyard, then expand that backyard a little bit bigger, and then keep going a little bit wider. And I think that that's something that for you guys, especially with the fact that you have that it's a Florida vibe. I mean, it's like there's many reasons for it to be able to hit so many areas of people that want to do not only the local side, but also the fact that you guys are hitting all the beach goers and all the people that love the beach and just love that aspect of, hey, I love a good vibe. And I'm like, and I want to wear that. Have you guys looked into, and I'm just kind of, my brain, just how my brain goes, looked at going into or started, I'm pretty sure you have gone into like the markets of like surf, like the surf expos and stuff like that? Like, is that like a goal of like trying to get to that point where you can kind of then possibly be something that people would start buying and wholesaling and doing all that stuff as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Surf Expo before. I've never it was never a mission of us to be like, oh, we want to go wholesale, because wholesale has its own problems. We always wanted to kind of be direct to consumer. We're not going to say no to it.
Just like my idea that every other day, I'm like, let's open up a cute little boutique. And then he reminds me the cost of all that and everything that goes into it. So,
so we're not going to say no to like wholesale and stuff like that. Like, if the right opportunity comes up, then great. But that's not like who we're trying to pursue at the end of the day. Right? Now, we've had people approach us about things.
I would say like a new kind of like direction that we've been going to, and new doors that have been opening up for us have been like around golf courses and golf clubs and stuff like that. You know, even for example, like a public course versus a private course. And, you know, we many times get DMs of like, hey, where can I go? If I just want a 407 hat, where can I go and pick it up? And like, we don't have an area like that. Like for our neighborhood, we literally, like, I do personal drop-offs of people's houses that I know where they live and stuff. But, you know, having that conversations with golf courses is kind of something like a door that has opened for us. And we're really interested in exploring that further, because it's an area where, you know, someone can go and, you know, buy our stuff.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And what about events? I know, and that's a hard one. That's a hard one because obviously as a family brand, kids, time, those are tough. But like, is that something that you guys have considered looking into, like trying to do or be part of some like possible brands or like events, like markets and things like that, to kind of like, as you get the name brand out?
Yeah. And we have done a handful of events over the years, some being in the type 1 world, some not. Like we did Soto's Christmas
tree light up.
Yeah, like downtown. We've done a few things like that. And the best part about those, honestly, is just meeting people. Like we've met a lot of great, you know, again, other small businesses that have set up. And I feel like that's where we get the most out of it. And we're totally open. Like we've done a few things. We've taken a step back this year. We kind of said that like we need to, you know, I guess prioritize our time, basically. So we said, all right, if we had to pick one thing that we need to like take a step back is we need to do less in-person events right now. That's just temporary. We'll probably kick things up. But like I said, it's hard with kids and families and everything else. But a lot of times we bring the kids with us and they're running around, and especially our nephews. It's funny, like we'll give them postcards, and they'll go around and start handing out stuff.
That's awesome.
But again, honestly, I feel like we get the most because we like meet people at the end of the day. And so we're definitely open to it. But I mean, Big, I remember a conversation me and you had, like, I don't know, it was like a year or two ago, but you were just talking about how like good these in-person events work for you, not on the first time, but it's like maybe somebody kind of walks by and slows down a little bit and like looks at your stuff. And the next time they kind of say hi and maybe look a little bit longer. And then the third time they come by, they're like walking to the table and have a small conversation. And it's like, the fourth and fifth time, then they go buy something, right? But you have to kind of start showing up in that commitment. And it's a lot of work to do that. It does pay off at the end of the day. But we also just had for ourselves that we couldn't say yes to everything, because there was a point that we were trying to say yes. Some events were good. Some were a complete bust. You just don't know. But we had to kind of take a step back. So we said, we're still going to do a handful of events this year, but we wanted to be kind of smart about it. But, we're definitely not opposed to them.
Yeah. No, I definitely think, and this is just obviously me from doing this for a while, I definitely recommend, especially if you're going to want to do the Orlando aspect of it. I'm not saying you do every market, but I think that it should be something, even if it's like once the fall comes, to start strategically figuring out. And maybe, like you said, take a step back this year. This would be a great time for you to be able to go and look at some markets that are happening and then realize during the fall, because technically that's really when it kind of goes crazy, and then be able to see where you get the best bang for your buck, for your time, and for the exposure, for people to be able to actually see and be able to see your brand. Because I do think that you do get something out of that and you do build from that. And then it also kind of, Rebecca, gives you a little bit of a taste of a boutique style, because you can create it as like a setting for it. And it gives you a small taste, but then it just pops up and then it pops right back out. But it's also one of those where you can plan ahead, because you're like, I'm not doing this every month, because as most brands like mine, I can't do that every month, but I can or I can't go every week somewhere, but I can at least go, even if it's once a month, figure out like a place to sell that you can get some exposure and views. I don't think it hurts as you start going and figuring out from there. We'll go, because I know obviously I try to make these lunch break, and that is, and you brought it up already, so it kind of works out very well. I love my guests to manifest things. So I want you guys to manifest for yourselves and for Palmr what you guys want for Palmr and for yourselves.
All right. So kind of like, I think to explain probably what our answer is going to be, to be honest, Nick and I have embarked on an IVF journey, which we started late last year. And it has been a journey, to say the least. So it kind of plays into why we've kind of decided this year we need to be smart with our time, because most of the time this year he hasn't had me working at full speed. So so then what would that lead up to? We've talked about this a lot of, obviously I'm a stepmom to 2 kids and Nick has kids. I don't have any kids of my own. So kind of plays into the whole family brand that we have started to create now. I really would love to see more toddler sizes for us and kind of grow the kid line a little bit more. And then another thing I will manifest, I will do a happy medium on the boutique, and I would love to have like a little like trailer kind of that I make into a little Palmr mobile Palmr. Would love to have that. So those are like the 2 little things I would love to do.
Yeah. I think for me, like, I really want to do some really cool like collaborations, especially with like the local community in Florida and all that type of stuff. And so anytime we can partner up with like a sports team or college or whatever, like that's a direction that I would love to go in. I know we've talked about like probably the first one we want to try to do is apply for licensing for UCF and try to do some official UCF Palmr gear. But to continue the mission of being a Florida brand, I feel like that's kind of the next step for us that we've been talking about. And again, I'm a huge sports person. I would love to eventually get to a place where we're doing some type of collab partnership or official just gear for different teams around the state of Florida and Orlando and all that. So like, that's a big part for me long-term.
Rebecca, it's funny because, my first kid shirt was the reason I did a kid shirt. The first one and only shirt I ever did for kids was because I wanted my daughter at the time, well, she's still my daughter, but she was little at the time, to
Yeah.
actually wear it. And then I realized, and in my world, obviously, because it's sandwich themed, a little bit more niche. It's a little bit harder, and it got really expensive. And I kind of was like, one shirt and we're done. Now my kid's about to go to college, and she helps me with marketing, but and occasionally wears some of my merch. So, but I understand that, and I look forward to seeing some Palmr toddler gear in the future for sure.
Yeah.
What advice do you guys have for someone wanting to start something?
So know that it's always going to be harder than you think it's going to be. And you need to know why you're doing it. If your answer is, I want to start a company to make money, you're going to fail. Not that money shouldn't be a part of it, because listen, we all need to do stuff to make money. But if your number one goal to start a business is, I just want to make money, it's going to be harder than you think it is, and you're going to burn yourself up and quit before you happen, right? Like, you need to do something that you love, that even when it's hard, you still want to do it. Even when there's no money, or you're losing money, or dumping your personal money into it, you still want to do it because you love what you do. And so for anybody starting a business, make sure you love it. If you're not happy about it, or you're not passionate about what you're doing, it's not worth it, which is why I said earlier, we start by making clothes that we want to wear. If we don't even want to wear it, what's the point?
Mm-hmm. And then I would say for myself is really believe in yourself. So like I mentioned earlier, I was, working in corporate America in a whole different world. But I always had this fashion side of me, and I was always artistic in a way, but my job wasn't fueling that artistic side of myself, but I never believed in myself enough to be able to take that chance in doing something. And it really wasn't until obviously meeting Nick on our first date and just being able to work off of each other, our different strengths and what we bring into the table. But it's just really, there's so many times that I doubted myself. And I really, looking back now, I wish that I would have had, that more of a little bit of the confidence to make myself do it. But it's just really believing in yourself, because what you can create is unique because it's coming from you. No one can replicate it. AI can do it for you. It's coming from you.
What, Nick, I know you mentioned it, but I'm kind of curious if there's something else. What is your favorite Palmr product?
I mean, first off, I'm a hat guy. Mostly because I'm losing my hair.
Yeah, I feel
so I
you.
just wear a hat all the time. And so I want to make hats that I actually love to wear. And so I'm always wearing a hat. So wanted to make sure I wear great hats. Man, I love a lot of our stuff. Again, the two things I wear the most is the hats and the shorts.
Well, I was going to say the shorts.
And the joggers. I made a pair of joggers. Sorry, what'd you say?
No, I was going to say the shorts was I figured the shorts when you said it. I was like, okay, the shorts. I was like, I want to know about I'm like, I need to get a pair of these shorts. And I did see the joggers, and I was like, ooh, joggers. I'm like, I'm short though. So I'm like, I'll have to see.
No, so that's the thing. I made the joggers come in regular size and short because I'm on the shorter side.
Biggie, you've met us. We're all short.
Yes. So again, you make stuff for yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I love wearing joggers, but I go out there and I can't find joggers. All the joggers I find are too long on me, and I don't like how they look. And I found a few brands that make short, and I was like, man, I'm just going to make the joggers that I wish I had and offer it in a short version for people who have this problem. So that's why I made the joggers that way, and I wear them all the time. Mm-hmm. I actually probably wear the joggers more than I wear the shorts.
Yeah.
Most days, but they're comfortable, they're well made, but they fit exactly how I want it because I made them shorter.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Rebecca?
I just always go back to, I love the idea that we're doing the matching stuff. So I like how we're putting our own spin on the matching things. Like tomorrow we have a fun shoot planned with a family in our neighborhood, and it's kind of going to be a mother-daughter shoot. So I'm just really excited, and I just love all the matching stuff. Even though, because I feel like if you think of matching, you think of cheesy, but we're putting our Palmr spin on it and we're making matching cool again. Maybe it's just in my head, but I'm going to go with it.
I love that. I love the fact, I love that idea because it is cool to be able to see it. And of course there's always that age, because the kids do get to a certain age, maybe that don't want to matchy too much, but that's not saying, I mean, in my household, my whole family, we all match. We all get dressed at different times, and somehow we all show up wearing the same color scheme. So like, I totally can understand having that idea of matching and all of that. Where can people follow you guys? Where can they shop? Where can they like see all the socials? Obviously, if they're on their phones and they're listening, they'll be able to like look at it as we're talking. They'll be in the show notes. But where can they follow you guys and do some shopping and also see everything online?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram at Palmr Style is our handle. We're also on TikTok, same handle as well. YouTube, we did a podcast. We started a podcast called The Urgent Lows with Palmr. And again, kind of going back to the IVF stuff, we kind of put that on pause. So Instagram, TikTok, Palmr Style, and then YouTube, The Urgent Lows with Palmr. And then you can buy everything on our website, palmrstyle.com.
And Palmr without the E.
Yes, that is important.
I like that. I love, I'm glad you guys brought up how you guys came up with the name, because I was curious on how that all kind of hits together. And I'd be remiss, I know real short, but I at least wanted, before we close out, I want you to talk about the organization where the contribution goes to type 1 diabetes, when you guys, the contribution of it. Talk a little bit about that aspect of what what you guys are bringing, what it goes to, what the organization is. I'd love for people to be able to hear and learn a little bit more about that in that community as well.
Yeah, so they're called Touched by Type 1. They're based here in Orlando. Because we're want to be like community based, and there's a lot of great organizations out there outside of the fact that they're really here in Orlando. We love that they're so community based, right? There are all these events and all that, and being able to connect. And that's what really kind of meant something to us, right? There's companies out there trying to raise money for a cure and all these type of things. And we all pray that one happens eventually. And don't get me wrong, they're trying to do that too. But a good part of what they're doing is taking the money that they raise and putting it back into the community to bring families together. There's days where they rent out the skating rink and bring all like a bunch of type 1 kids and families together. They're like, here's a free day at the skating rink. Like, go do that. And that has such a big impact. And so we just kind of fell in love with what they're doing. And so we want to give back to them. We also help support other, type 1 companies that reached out, and we donate stuff and do all things as well for them. So it's not just them, but like we give a percentage of our sales. And because we are a small business, we're just starting out, we're not profitable. We've never put a dime into our pockets. Hopefully one day we will. But we said from day one is that the giving has to start day one, not a percentage of profits. And so we said that we're going to give 1% off the top. Day one, that number will grow over time as we become more profitable. I mean, you can say, hey, do you want to give 1% gross or 100% of the profits? And the 1% gross is going to be more because there is no profits right now, right? But that's how important it was to us that we started giving from day one, even when we're not making money, because that's the example that we want to, give or share.
No, I love that. I think that's awesome. And that's one of the reasons why I want to make sure we had time to be able to bring that up, because I do think that is I think when you have a cause that is close to you, I think it's so important, especially something like this where it affects your life. So therefore you understand the importance of it even more so that maybe people who may not understand, but the ones that do understand get it. So I just think it's awesome to be able to give back and be able to do that. And I feel every organization that we're in a position now where every organization is looking for money. So they'll take any money they can get, any opportunity, any exposure, any way you can help them is something that I think every organization is looking out for. So I think it's awesome. I want to thank you guys so much, Nick and Rebecca, for being on, getting to talk about Palmr, getting to talk about your story, getting to spend some quality little lunch break, maybe a little longer lunch break, but a lunch break with you. That's our show for today. Thank you so much to Nick and Rebecca of Palmr for coming on. If you want to support them, definitely check out their brand, Palmr Style online, TikTok. Go visit them. Go see all those things. Shoot some DMs. If you know a celeb, you probably own a 407 or an Orlando hat, to make sure you're tagging them and taking a picture. Heck, supposedly the hat and the sandwich taste better if you wear a hat and you're eating a sandwich. So especially if you're going to one of the a small business, even if it's a Chipotle or a Chick-fil-A, we don't care. It's support a small business. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe. If you want to support my brand, check out Deli Fresh Threads. Thank you. Until next time, keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion. Thanks, everyone.